Hello people, Dave here, Framer on the Land. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I thought I'd give you an update. The last time, following my videos Bailiff at my gate and Bailiff at my gate 2, I have had one more visit from a bailiff. I actually wasn't in, so they dropped the paperwork off the door. That was a lady. When I got home and collected the paperwork, I gave her a call. I basically explained who I was, what I was about, and after a 20-minute conversation I basically informed her that if she was going to return I would arrest her. That seemed to shock her at the time. She said, "How can you arrest me?" I says, "Under common law I can arrest you because the documentation you have is fraudulent." I explained why it was fraudulent. I explained the process with the court, how the local council had not informed them fully of the situation and that I'd served notice on the council. So the bailiffs were therefore acting on instructions from the council without having full knowledge of the events. After I'd explained that to her, I then asked would she be returning. She said definitely not until her office had received the full information from the council. That was back in October, and we're now, well, today is actually Boxing Day, December 2011. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to bring you up to date, but my main reason for doing this video today is to cover an item regarding the courts and what I'm calling councils, courts and collusion. So basically, to start, I'm going to cover it in the realms of council tax, but this can also equally apply to FPNs and other minor summonses you get from the local councils. But I'll deal in the main with council tax. Assuming for whatever reason you haven't paid your council tax, you will get a reminder in the first instance. That will be followed by the red reminders, papers covered in red ink, and that then will remove your right to pay by instalments if you don't pay by their due date. After that, you will get a summons from the courts. Now, to explain due process, if you don't pay your council tax, the council will send a representative to the magistrate's court. He will make a complaint. The magistrate, upon hearing that complaint, if he finds it valid and just, he then instructs a clerk of the courts to issue a summons to you. So the clerk issues the summons from the court for and on behalf of the courts, not the council. You then, if you intend to turn up at court, come into court to explain the reason why you haven't paid your council tax. Now that is due process, but like most councils up and down the country, they don't just have one or two clients who haven't paid the council tax. It's normally in the hundreds and sometimes thousands. So if, for example, 1,000 people were to be brought to court on a complaint, first the council has to go to court and make 1,000 complaints. That's going to be very, very time consuming for the courts, getting 1,000 different details, 1,000 different addresses, 1,000 different numbers, and then the clerk would have to be issuing 1,000 summonses. That would take up a lot of time, perhaps a week or more for the courts to go through 1,000 cases. Time is money, especially for the courts. So what they do, they're using a process called passing off. So the council calls up the court and says, "Oh, we have 1,000 people here who hasn't paid the council tax." The court says, "Okay, you send out the summonses, you've got all the details, you've got the client's names, you send them out, we'll give you a date, summons them to court on this particular date, and we'll rubber stamp them once they get in." And that's the process of passing off. The council then issue the summonses, and they're designed to make it look as though they come from a court, where in fact they have not. So, is the process of passing off lawful? Simple answer is no. Even Bridget Prentice, for the Ministry of Justice in 2008, clearly stated that this process of passing off between the councils and courts was unlawful. So if the courts are breaking the law, how do they expect you and I and everyone else to uphold the law? So I'll show you a little difference here. I'll have to put my glasses on for this. This is something I received back in 2009. It was a road traffic offence, but it came from the court. As you can see, there's clearly a court seal on the top of the paper, and on the bottom, Tim Jepson, the clerk to the court. And I know Tim Jepson is the clerk to the court at working in an Allerdale Magistrates Court. So that was an official summons. That was back in 2009. Since the council can't put the Crown seal on, what they're doing is mocking up these type of things. It looks like a summons, it's written as though it's a summons, and actually it states, I have been summoned. But on the bottom it says clerk to the justices, but there is no signature. Right, following the summons, then receive a liability order. After they have the case, they issue a liability order, or they're supposed to issue a liability order. What in fact happens, the court hears the case, a judgment is made, a liability order is granted, but not always issued. So then the council will send out a paper like this. Again, there is no Crown seal on it. It states a liability order has been issued, and in this case there's a photocopied signature, Mr. P. Wells. Mr. P. Wells is a signature regularly used in this area of Cumbria in 3 different counties that I know of. It doesn't actually work in this area where I live, but the councils use that signature on all their paperwork. It's a con, it's a fraud. This is another one here. It clearly states Allerdale Borough Council stating that a liability order has been granted against me. Now, I have challenged the councils to produce these liability orders, and on no occasion have they ever been able to produce a liability order. I've also contacted the courts and asked where the liability order was. They've informed me the council had it. Again, they're passing the buck, because not ordinarily the councils get the liability order granted, but it's never ever issued. And without the issuance of that liability order, they have absolutely no teeth at all. So the next process the council will do is send in the bailiffs. The bailiffs will claim that a liability order has been issued, but if you ever challenge your bailiffs to produce one, invariably they cannot. It's a big con, and this is the corruption between the councils and the courts. It's a collusion. Once you're aware of this, if you ever receive a summons to a court, make sure it is from a court. It will have the Crown seal on and the clerk of the justice's name. If it hasn't got the Crown seal on, it is a forgery. And actually, by the council sending out these summonses purporting to be from a court, they're actually committing an act of fraud. In fact, it is perjury under the 1911 Perjury Act. You can check that out. It's freely available on the internet.